Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ravens Sit Rep. I'm your host, KD. If you guys are joining me for the first time, feel free to check in. Let me know where you're checking in from, whether it be YouTube, my Twitter, or even Facebook. All right. So as you guys seen on the thumbnail, basically we're going to be talking about the best linebacker duo in the NFL. I want to make this video because I seen something on PFF, basically circulating through the NFL news and some different websites and so forth. And I wanted to basically hit on it when it comes down to the best linebacker duo in the NFL. The basically looking at some of the different things. Some people have their own little way of how they judge certain things and so forth. For me, from a fan perspective or just from a pure numbers perspective, I think the good old fashioned stats will kind of tell us a little bit about what kind of players we're dealing with, especially because there's so many different stats that we can use. So before we get too wrapped up in it, I'm gonna basically let some people come in and so forth. And then you guys kind of let me know, okay, if I'm missing a particular duo, chime in and let me know which duo that you guys think should make this particular list. Now, I did the top four that I could actually see when it comes down to their production and what they meant to their team, their availability, and stuff like that. One particular team is going to be taken out of the possibility of being the top duo. And just because I took them, reason why I took them out is because they're no longer together. The two players they played together last year, but they're not here. They're not together on the same team anymore. And that's another reason why I didn't put some of the, you guys probably think some of the fan favorites, a team like the New Orleans Saints or a team like the Cincinnati Bengals or whatever. I didn't put those teams on here because, again, some of those guys are still trying to find their way, or either they lost particular people that could have been that 1-2 punch when it comes down to their team. So first things first, I don't work for any network. I don't work for anybody in particular. This is just me. I'm a fan, just like most of you guys. And basically, this is something that I came up with, and I'll basically explain to you as we pull up the spreadsheet, and I'll tell you what I used when it comes down to if a certain type of formula or whatever it may be. I didn't just say, hey, okay, look, this particular team, these particular guys are better than this particular team, and so forth. So there's a little bit of math went into it, a little bit of math. Some of the stuff was just, downright, these guys are better, and so forth. Now, before you guys, get mad at me or anything like that, again, I didn't want to create a spreadsheet with 25 different linebacker duos on there. So basically what I did is I took the top four that I thought was going to be probably the best duos that were registered, the best duo that were out there. So as you guys see on the thumbnail, I gave the Colts a look, Bobby O and Zaire Franklin. I gave the Minnesota Vikings a look with Kendricks and with Hendricks and Hicks. And then also gave the 49ers a look, who's probably a fan favorite of a lot of NFL fans when it comes down to Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. And then obviously I gave a look to the Baltimore Ravens duo with Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith. So before we get too wrapped up in it, if you guys have any kind of comments or anything like that, if you're on Facebook, I can't see who it is. So if I reply to you, I'm sorry, it says Facebook user. So again, this would be the one thing that I would basically, I'm going to try and reply to you. I just won't know your name, okay? So you'll have to agree with StreamYard to basically see your name if you're replying through Facebook. But so if we put inside linebacker or outside linebacker, the thing I was looking at is the more pure linebacker position, meaning that these guys are not premier pass rushers. Because I know a lot of teams like to say, okay, look, this guy's an outside linebacker, but they literally put his hand in the dirt, and all he does really, 75% of the time is rush the quarterback. So I didn't put those type of players in there because, again, those type of players are going to have 45 tackles. And out of those 45 tackles, 16 of them could be sacks and so forth. So I didn't include a player like a TJ Watt, because again, he's listed as an outside linebacker. Again, at the same time, I already know who this is. So at the same time, I wanted to try and keep it pure to the linebacker position. So again, if you guys are already mad at me because I didn't include somebody in a particular thumbnail, like a TJ Watt or Jadeveon Clowney or Myles Garrett or whoever it is, again, the reason why I didn't, or even Michael Parsons in Dallas, the reason why I didn't include them, because again, we were talking about the pure second level of defense in the NFL when it comes down to those particular types of linebackers. So, all right, without further ado, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my spreadsheet, and I'm gonna basically explain this spreadsheet to you. Okay, so it looks pretty generic. It's nothing any special, nothing anything special about it. It's basically some numbers that I ran when it came down to certain players and some of the stats that they have. And then again, with the stats don't tell the whole complete picture. If I could embed links of certain plays that these players made, you can basically see, the writing on the wall when it comes down to what these guys do on the field for their team and so forth. And I just think that some of these particular players, their team is not going to ask them to do certain things. Case in point, if they have a premier pass rusher, I'm probably never going to ask you to pass rush as a linebacker because I have 2 or 3 guys that could do that. The same thing with, if I have a guy that can cover in a nickelback, I would primarily don't want you to drop in coverage. Some guys are good in coverage, some guys are not good in coverage, and so forth. And that particular hurt some of the argument that I will make to you guys based off of this particular spreadsheet. So just to introduce you to this particular spreadsheet, and we can kind of navigate through it. So obviously total tackles is self-explanatory, right? And then all I did was total them up, the 2 players. And then same thing with solo tackles. And then the percentages, I basically added them together and then divided them by 2 and took the average. Same thing with tackle for loss, so forth and so on, all the way throughout the sheet, right? So now that we got that out of a particular way, the biggest thing that I want you guys to understand how I came up with this solo tackle percentage is basically I took solo tackles and divided by total tackles, and it punched out this percentage for me. So that I didn't just come up with some number off the top of my dome or nothing like that. So, all right. So the first duo that's up would be Bobby O and Zaire Franklin. I think these guys are probably gonna take the realm from the top duo, whoever it may be, based off the end of this, because these guys are playing lights out. They're young and they're able to do what they need to do when it comes down to keep Indy in games. The issue is, I think their offense doesn't allow them to get a proper break or proper rest when it comes down to going 3 and out or turning the ball over and so forth. So their particular numbers, or could be, you could look at them and say, hey, their numbers are inflated or whatever it may be because they're on the defense, they're on the field all the time and so forth. But then again, if you look at their numbers, they're right on par with, if you think the 49ers are the best duo, if you think the Ravens are the best duo, their numbers are right on par with them when it comes down to it. So for me, I did want to give them the nod just by looking at some of their numbers early on, right? But as you move further to the right, you kind of see, okay, some of the stuff that they're not asked to do. And then again, like somebody said on Facebook, yeah, their line isn't making the plays. And that's 100% true. Your front 4 also matters as well when it comes down to what you have in front of you to make your job easier. I don't know if you guys heard the saying before, front 7 can make any secondary look good. So if that's the case, if you have a good front 7, your secondary can look good. Or same thing with your linebackers. If you got the front 4 eating up all those particular gaps, then it's too easy for your linebacker to come in and play cleanup from that second level. So the thing that I want to really look at, want you guys to catch your eyes to catch, is the 85% for Bobby O is the defensive plays. Now I don't know if he was injured. I don't know if he was taken out of off the field in third down situations. I didn't look too far into that. So again, I don't know what went on with that. I would have thought he would have been a little bit closer to the 90% or even at the 90% based off of his play and what he was able to do. Those 12 tackles for loss is crazy to think about. So I was always thinking, hey, this guy was a heavy contributor, which I knew he was, but it's just the fact like, okay, look, why was he off the field when it comes down to it? So was he dinged up or whatever it may be? Because again, that's kind of low based off of some of the guys that we were looking when it comes down to who's going to be the best duo. Their solo tackle percentage is again right on par with all the guys on this particular list. Again, these guys are young. I think both guys are 26. Again, like I said, within a few years, these guys could probably be overtaken. If it's the Ravens, if it's the 49ers, if it's any other team, I would probably put my money on it that Indy would end up in the top 3, maybe top 2 for the actual best duo for linebackers. So moving right along to the 49ers. So the 49ers, Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner, those guys are beasts in their own right. Both those guys play sideline to sideline. They can play anywhere you need them to play. You want them to drop into coverage, they can do that as well. They're just basically disruptors to the point to where as soon as you get around the corner, if you were to get the edge on the 49ers, you're looking for these one or two, or probably both of them to come hit you in the mouth. So they strike fear. They strike fear in teams' face when it comes down to, if the running back gets the ball, goes through the A gap, they are automatically, hey, we clinching up, looking for these particular guys to come and lay the lumber. Case in point, if you guys see, you guys see their tackles and their solo tackles, the solo tackles of Dre Greenlaw, 65%. That's pretty good. Same thing with Fred Warner. He got 61%. For me, I look at those guys' particular snaps, those total defensive snaps. That's where it starts to get, again, it gets a little cloudy because now we got somebody on the team that's been on the field less than the first guy with Bobby O at 79%. I don't know if that's a package deal. They get into a long yard situation or a short yardage situation, and they kind of bring in some more beef, bring in another lineman, or they go dime and they bring in another a defensive back or nickel back or whatever it may be. Again, those are one of those things I would have to look at a little bit more when it comes down to the type of defense that they run, the reason why these guys are going off the field, and so on. So as you guys look at the comparison, some categories the 49ers are winning, and some categories the Indianapolis Colts are winning. So again, it's kind of neck and neck when it comes down to, hey, somebody winning some categories, somebody losing some categories. They got them by the tackles, right? But then if you look at their actual solo tackle percentage, it's pretty much the same on par. If you look at the interceptions, 49ers got interceptions. The Colts, the linebackers did not. That could be something that you can look at. And what I'm looking at is I'm trying to look at the complete linebacker aspect of, hey, can you rush the passer? Can you get tackled for losses behind the line of scrimmage? Can you get interceptions? Okay, by the way, are you a solo act or you guys do a bunch of game tackling? You do a bunch of game tackling, and that, those are the things I was looking for when it comes down to how can we really determine who's the best duo. And again, this is my way of ranking something. So again, the PFF warriors out there, the ESPN warriors out there, the CBS, ESPN, all those people that you got your own little ranking systems, or you hear word of mouth, or you're going to go ask the executives or the presidents of the certain clubs and stuff like that. If you want to do that, that's all fine and dandy. That's on you. For me, this is my way of kind of trying to show you guys what I think or who I think is the best duo currently in the NFL. So one team that's not listed on here is the Vikings. I put them in the thumbnail, but then as I was doing my research, I realized Hendricks had left and he went to go pair up with Kenneth Murray over in LA with the Chargers. So look for I'll probably do an update on this probably in the mid-season about which duo is still who I think is still the best and so forth. And then we'll see who comes out on top. So for the last team we're going to talk about with the Baltimore Ravens. Before you called me a homer, again, the Ravens are not winning in every category, as you guys can see. Okay. The one thing that you guys don't see, if you guys look at the orange stripe is a representation of the time Roquan Smith had with the Bears before he came over. He played in 8 games. He was traded in mid season over to the Ravens, and then as you guys see, he still did his thing with the Ravens or with the Bears. He still was doing his thing. He was on par to still have a really good season. I know those numbers. You guys looking at those numbers, you're like, what? How is this possible? Look, if you look at the stat sheet, you pull it up. This is what the man had with the Bears in 8 games. So if you look at that average, that's 10 tackles a game. 10 tackles a game with those 83 that he got at the Bears because he played in 8 games. So again, and all I did was add the Ravens stuff with the Bears stuff, and then I basically just divided it. Okay. In some instances, it hurt the Ravens or the Ravens duo. In some instances, it looked like it helped them. But in all actuality, the numbers are the numbers. So as we move farther to the right, as you guys can see, the Ravens don't have the most tackles, right? They don't have the most solo tackles, right? They're kind of like in the top 2, which is fine, right? What really stands out for me is these numbers right here. Patrick Queen pretty much has the highest solo tackle percentage based off of what he was doing in the NFL this past season. A lot of Raven fans say, hey, look, Patrick Queen misses a lot of tackles and so forth. So just imagine if that particular percentage of these 117 would have been 95. If we'd have had 95, we're talking about over 80% of solo tackles. That means, hey, look, when he gets somewhere, he's making that tackle, and then, oh yeah, by the way, he doesn't need a lot of help when it comes down to it, and it's fine. If you get gang tackles, that's okay. It's not a big deal. But when you get those solo tackles, it means that, hey, okay, look, you can basically take away your certain part of the field, whether it be your halves, whether it be your quarters, whether it be your gaps. You can take that particular side of the field away if they know, hey, you're not going to miss tackles. That means when you get there, you get home, somebody's going on their back, which is what we want. The other thing for the Ravens is you guys see those tackle losses. Those things are also a look. The other thing about it is you see these tackle for losses right here. These tackle for losses mean that, hey, somebody got tackled behind the line of scrimmage. That means a running back. I mean, it could be wide receiver screen, whatever it may be. Those things matter because those are drive killers. You have a team that's got the sticks. They're on short sticks, basically meaning they have a favorable down, whether it be a 2nd and 2, a 3rd and 1, or whatever it may be, and then bam, you get a tackle for loss. So those type of things are basically drive killers. Okay, and he said I was a homer. One of the loaded guys said I was a homer. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I should have put the Bills on here. But okay, I didn't put the Bills on here for a reason. The reason why I didn't put the Bills on here because they lost a guy in Edmonds. So, all right, if you move to their sacks, okay, again, based off your defense, they may not ask you to pass rush often, which is fine. And again, if you want me to go further and dig further into the weeds, and we can say, okay, look, how many times have they pass rushed? Versus now we can put that percentage in there as well. If I rushed 10 times, I got home 5 times. Okay, that's 50% that I was able to get home. But if you want those type of numbers, just mention it in the comments, and then I can go ahead and go further in great detail about that. So as you guys see, the Ravens had the 9.5 sacks, and then the interceptions. The interceptions is what shocked me because again, if you ask the average Raven fan, they probably think neither one of these guys got interceptions, and they got interceptions. They got multiple or 2 interceptions, and Roquan got 2 with the Bears. Total defensive snaps. So you guys see, Roquan Smith does not leave the field for some odd reason. I mean, well, it's not an odd reason, but the dude is just super durable right now. Does not leave the field, which is good because when he's on the field, the defense is super effective, and it's part of because he put people in the right place. And if he's in the right spot himself, he has no issue trying to go make the play and being successful at it. So basically, to the right here, I basically took both of these percentages, added them together, and then compile both of these and both of those right here, and that gave me that particular 188, and then I divided it. Okay, so and they ended up with the 94% percent of the defensive plays, and that's on par with your two linebacker sets in the NFL. I don't know. There are many times where you're going to take both guys off the field. You know, when it comes down to those particular linebackers and what they bring to you, we talking, you know, we talking A and B gap. They take away A and B gap, and now the only thing we got to worry about is C. We push everything outside. We got the proper stunt to push everything outside, and the inside is literally a rush around the corner and tag off on the guy, make sure he goes down, and then you end up getting your tackles, whether it be tackle for loss, depending on how quick they dissect the play, or if you get a guy behind the line of scrimmage and he's trying to cut back, those guys end up blowing that stuff up. So, all right. So for me, I'm not gonna say who is the best, right? Because again, the numbers say one thing. The numbers say one thing. You could say, hey, okay, look, you know, the Indianapolis Colts, because they got more tackles, they're the better team. You could say, hey, the Ravens are the better team because they got the most sacks. You could say the 49ers are the better team because they played the most. Okay, so again, there's a lot of different things that we can look at when it comes down to it. But for me, if you want to sit here and nitpick anything, I would say, hey, if the Ravens play the way they played the last year right here and they build upon it, that's going to be my confirmation. They're going to move into that top spot. As of right now, I would still give it over to Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. Part of the reason why I would do that is because everything wasn't done with the Ravens, with Roquan Smith. That's part of the reason why I wouldn't just, definitively crown the Ravens as the number one linebacker duo in the NFL. So, all right, so I'm going to check real quick and see if you guys have any questions or anything like that. I see some comments rolling in. I see Katie, I'm half the homer. Okay. Edmonds is still a great outside linebacker. Got it. Colts look like they might have. So again, the Colts may have it. It's just the fact, like, what's the rest of their defense going to do to alleviate that pressure off of these two to where now they're not, because basically they're surviving. They're playing survival. But what happens if the defense, they get some help and now they can thrive together? So for me, I want to see what the Colts will end up doing when it comes down to helping those two guys out. Because again, I think those two guys, like I said, could overtake the number one spot in the next 3 or 4 years. So some honorary mentions about linebackers and so forth. So the New Orleans Saints, I wanted to put the New Orleans Saints on this particular thumbnail or even on this spreadsheet. And the reason why I didn't is because they lost Pete Werner. Pete Werner is now in Atlanta. They lost Caden Ellis, who's now in Atlanta, and Pete Werner is stepping in. Now, he had a good season. It's just a matter they haven't played together with him in the primary role with Demario Davis. So if he comes out and he does anything that he's, has a potential to do, I think now we would turn around and say, okay, look, Demario Davis, Pete Werner could make some noise to crack the top 5. They're right on the cusp of being in the top 5. They're definitely probably top 10, no matter who it is in the spot. But right now, I just can't put them in the top 5 without having that solidified person there just yet. Because again, if you're going to go off of potential, shoot, I can put anybody. I can say Seattle Seahawks is probably the best duo with Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner. But again, Jordan Brooks has coverage issues. So when it comes down to it, I can't name you as a top linebacker core, and one of you guys can't play and cover. So another honorary mention, and again, these are not in any order. I'm just naming off linebacker core or inside linebackers that I think will be worth something when it comes down to those guys. Yeah. So all right. So Tampa Bay. Again, Levante David is aging, but he's still productive. And no matter what struggles Devin White has been having, they've still been able to produce. I know Devin White has graded horribly in PFF and so forth, but again, I don't know what PFF uses. I'm not subscribed to what they have going on. I see some of his play, and he's beat like a drum consistently over the middle, whether it be in his hook curl or whether it be even seam curl. He's beat like a drum most of the time, and it is by multiple different types of receivers and tight ends. So for me, I think they can turn around and ratchet it back down and get back to where they rightfully belong in the top five. But as of right now, they're kind of losing their way, and Lavonte David is doing everything he can to try and hold on and keep that defense solidified as much as they can. So the next team would be the Seattle Seahawks, just like I alluded to. They're honorable mention because of what B-Wags is able to do. And Jordan Brooks, as much as he's not good in coverage, the dude is a tackling machine. Dude gets 150 tackles a year, and it's like he's not even working hard to get those 150 tackles. So for me, I look for them to make a push as well. As long as B-Wags can continue to hold up and do what he's been doing, I look for them to make some noise as well. And then my particular spreadsheet would get a lot bigger when it comes down to who do I think is probably in the top 5 or top 10 or whatever it may be. As a matter of fact, that's what I'll probably do next time. I'll probably do a top 10 and I try not to give you guys information overload and try and keep it as simple as I can probably keep it without trying to give you all kind of mathematical equations and stuff. All right. So the next team, honorary mention, would be Kansas City. Look, I'm an SEC fan. I paid attention to both these guys in college, or I knew when they went to Kansas City, I knew they would turn out to be something good. Again, it's one of those teams where, hey, we don't ask them to do a lot because our front four is going to get home and do what we need them to do. But whatever they ask them to do, these guys have excelled at it. When it comes down to Willie Gay and Nick Bolton. Again, you ask these guys to blitz, they can do it. You ask these guys to drop in coverage, cover running backs, they can do it. You ask them to come down and play two gaps, they can play two gaps. Both of them can play two gaps simultaneously. Even though one of them seems, you look at him and say, okay, look, he's not 6'3", not 6'4", he's right at 6 feet. That's 100% fine. He makes up for it with his engine. He makes up for it with that engine, and that engine, that motor basically never shuts down. Never shuts down. I don't even think that motor needs oil. He basically just runs around and just makes plays, all night long. So, and the last honorable mention team would be the Cincinnati Bengals. I have to, respect what they've done. Logan Wilson has always been a stud for them, and Jermaine Pratt is starting to turn the corner for them, and he's just as good when it comes down to it. I know he has some inconsistency issues, as well as Logan Wilson has some inconsistency issues, but for the most part, both of those guys are good complements to one another, and it helps that you have a front four that, again, is able to continue to manipulate gap assignments to where now, okay, look, you guys go whatever gap you're going, it's our job to make them right. And then on top of this, we're splattering plays, we're blowing plays up, and we're able to do what we need to do as well as a linebacker core. And we basically make it easier for our secondary to go ahead. And if you underthrow the ball or you overthrow the ball, we can just be in the right place at the right time. So, all right. So I'm not going to be on here much longer. So if you have not already, be sure to make sure you subscribe to my channel. It is the Raven Sit Rep on YouTube. If you're out there on Twitter, it's at WarReady81. And if you guys have got some particular question or whatever it is you have, feel free to send me an email at ravensitrep21@gmail.com. And I'll basically answer these questions in the form of a video, kind of like what we're doing right now. And then we can go from there. Okay. So I'm gonna wait up for a little bit, wait around. If you guys got any kind of questions, you want to, give a shout out, tell me where you're checking in from, whether it be Facebook, whether it be Twitter, if you want to tell me what state you're checking in from, or even if you're overseas somewhere looking at this particular video, feel free to let me know where you're going. I'll never know where you're from, and then I'll basically give you a shout out. Okay, so I'll give you guys again a couple minutes, give you about 2 minutes, and if you don't have no questions, then we can go from there. Then I'll go ahead and jump off it. Okay, so no questions. No questions just yet. Okay, nice. All right, so let me go back up here and look at some of these things. Okay. All right. Okay. Got it. All right. All right. No private chat. Okay. All right. Cool. So, hey, again, thank you guys for all the support. And if you haven't subscribed or anything by now, and you made it to the end of this stream, again, thank you for all of the support. Really means a lot. I'll go ahead and get my next video ready to go. If I don't receive an email or whatever it may be, I'll keep going with the same topic that I have. And my job here with my channel is basically trying to give you guys a little bit more information outside of the norm what ESPN and other people do. So my job is to basically try and get you to think a little bit more outside the box when it comes down to people just putting up touchdown stats, catching and stuff like that. We basically trying to go a little bit further in detail when it comes down to talking about certain players, certain positions, and so forth. And again, like somebody was saying in Facebook, look, I don't want to come off as a homer. I do know the Ravens have some of their issues, some of their flaws. I'm not going to come here and say, hey, the Ravens win the Super Bowl and you can book it. You know, I'm not going to do that. I will always compare the Ravens to other players and so forth. This particular time, it was for linebackers. Who knows? I may do quarterbacks next. So in the middle of the season, we may talk about quarterbacks. I may do wide receiver for it. I may do the groups, you know, when it comes down to it. And you're going to get a little bit more substance than just how many catches they got, how many yards they got, how many touches. Because you guys can look that type of stuff up. My whole thing is, hey, look, I want to see what their catch percentage is. I want to see what their drop percentage is. And now how does that compare as a unit and so forth. So, all right. So until then, until next time, I'll see you guys. And thank you guys again for joining. And until we meet again, you guys have a good day. Peace.